M3GAN 2.0 or 3GAN or M3GAN, as we say here in Australia, is coming out today. It is out today in Australian cinemas. And I am a little bit apprehensive, but I feel like I'm prepared for this one because I am going in, I have watched the trailer and it wasn't what I was expecting, but now I know what to expect. Hopefully it will still be a fun ride, and this is coming from someone who loved the first film. This one takes place 2 years after the first 3GAN film, where the creator Gemma resorts to resurrecting the infamous M3GAN in order to take down a new threat. Same director, a lot of the same cast, and this one is less, it seems to be less about the threat of AI or robots with humans, which I really love that angle, and more about robot versus robot. It also goes for 2 hours, which I didn't know until just looking this up and buying my tickets. But I'm here to watch them so you guys can get a gauge on whether you're gonna go out and see this one in cinemas. I always recommend make up your own mind, but I'm gonna let you know in a very spoiler-free manner whether it will be your kind of thing. I let you know my personal taste and what I think, but I also let you know who it's well suited for. Tickets are expensive. It cost me $27 to go see this film. So I totally understand when you can only pick one film a week or only get time to go to one movie a week, that you wanna make sure it's the movie for you. And I'm here as someone who really enjoyed the first film, the campness of it all, to see if this one hits just as hard. I am a little bit scared about it though. I am scared. I'm actually a person who loves the idea of robots or AI horror, talking about the dangers of it creeping into society and everyday life. And I'm just unsure of where they're gonna take the story. If you did forget where they left off with the first film, I don't think it's gonna be too much of a problem because it does take place a couple of years later, but I'll let you know with that as well if you should recap and refresh. I just finished watching the end of the last film just in case. But I'm gonna give you guys answers straight away. No more talk. Let's go to the cinema and come with me to watch M3GAN 2.0 or 3GAN 2.0. Let's go. Okay, well, movies like that are why I make videos, because I want to set some expectations for what that just was. I felt like that film gave me what I wanted in terms of the AI conversation and how AI interacts with everyday life and all of the warnings and precautions around it. But it also didn't, and I hate saying this, but really didn't feel like a horror movie at all, and took a completely separate path than the original film, which is about this crazy killer robot AI. And this one, it starts off being almost political and about a warfare weapon, and is a lot more to do with the corporate side of things and everything that surrounds that in terms of AI. A lot of this film is a drama action, and I think that's got to do with the way it sets itself up, the way it brings M3GAN back in to the picture. It felt like a huge exposition dump at times, especially towards the start, trying to get a lot of information across to you as to why M3GAN would even come back, and they explain themselves in such a way that I wouldn't say it's complicated, it's very good guy, bad guy, and there are a few twists and turns. I would say they're pretty predictable, but it takes so much time to set itself up, and it does have a window of hope for it being another fun entry, but I do feel like then it pivots out of that again. So I really liked the second act in this film, and it almost had some redeemable scenes that really are callbacks to the first film, but I don't think it measured up or it was worth the entire runtime for that alone. I find it really hard when films have redeemable moments and really cool and interesting setups and situations that I just wanted to stay in that, and I felt like this one moved throughout that so fast and became just a strange drama action that just had so much information coming at you that there wasn't any fun left. It wasn't a simple film that was just fun and stupid with throwaway lines, with M3GAN being M3GAN, although we get a tiny glimpse of that. There's just too much going on in a way that it would be fine for a normal drama action, but for a M3GAN film, it's just not very satisfying. Let me tell you, there is a really great moment in this film. I just don't feel like those few moments were worth the 2-hour runtime. Not for a M3GAN film. If it stood on its own as an action drama with, you know, some kind of like, I guess, horror or like killer robot moments. It's shot really nice. I love the characters. That's what I find really disheartening about it, because Allison Williams, her character, the auntie, Gemma, as well as Cole and Tessa, how they work together, I think is really interesting. And because it did have a lot of information it was trying to pack into this one film, there is a lot of information. They have a big story to tell, which makes sense for the 2-hour runtime. It really does. I'm not saying it's boring in the sense of the story. There is a lot to it, and it's not like they're stretching it out. They're just packing a lot into the runtime, and I understand why they had to make it that long. It just doesn't feel like a M3GAN movie in the balance of story and fun. But the characters are still great, and it almost felt like it could have worked as a mini-series following on the events 3 years later from what happened, and really taken its time, and we could spend more time with those characters going through all of the paces. But instead we get a really fast-paced but pure kind of action, almost heist film with a few comedic aspects. I was very unsure from this film because of the setup at the very start. As I said, it starts very political, a lot to do with warfare, and it is very over the top. It also reminded me of Malignant, the starting of Malignant. It's very similar to that, and I was wondering if it was going to go full camp like that one does, and it is so cheesy and silly. But then I think when they pack so much story into it, it loses that kind of element that M3GAN has, where it is so over the top and in your face, because they're trying so hard to make it logical and have a greater meaning in so many different aspects of challenging AI and how AI is useful for humankind and the responsibility behind that. And they do really harp on that. So I do like that messaging, but at the same time, the whole point is to keep it kind of simple, stupid, you know the saying, where it's kind of light-hearted, but it has a greater message that is very obvious. As I said, it looks great because there's a lot to look at. I'm not saying it's a beautiful film, but in terms of a stylish, funky, the sets, the elaborate action scenes, it's all very fun, very flashy, especially with all of the technology and robotics. It's very fun to look at, but it just wasn't satisfying as a M3GAN film. I didn't feel like we had enough funny, iconic moments, and it was just going so deep into the drama elements and the corporate side of things. I will say it was less robot versus robot than I thought, so I was impressed by that, but it still replaced that with a lot of other action. But there was that window in time when it was coming into the second act that I was like, wow, is this going here? This is going to be great. But I don't think the means justifies the result in a strange way. Overall, I am glad I saw it at the cinema, because action films, for me, I am liking a lot more recently, especially with action horror. I loved a lot of action horror films last year, but it does tend to take me out of the situation personally. So if I see it on the big screen, there is no distractions and I can try and get myself really synced into it. But with these kinds of films, I feel like the stakes are quite low. I feel like because it is so PG-esque, there isn't going to be a lot of gore and a lot of fun and a lot of, I mean, there are definitely some casualties, but they don't take it to that next step. It's not shocking in any way. And that's why I really don't find this to be horrific or a horror. I hate saying that because I think that there is so many different interpretations of how people see horror, but this film, it wasn't scary and it wasn't trying to scare the audience at all. Sometimes maybe some tension with whether a bad figure is going to get someone, but not so much tension building because the story is moving so fast. I will say though, it is better to have obviously seen the first film. Sometimes for these sequels, they do have a little montage at the start, and this one does. It fully explains what happened in the first film, but it doesn't talk too much about how it ends and show that, but it does mention it later in the film to kind of jog your memory. But there are so many callbacks in this film to the parts that people really loved in the first film, and it felt like it was almost just nodding at those moments instead of making moments of its own. It wasn't making new memories. We were just harping on the old things that people loved about M3GAN in the first movie. So I do think it's good to have that fresh in your mind because then you can kind of see what homages they're making to the original, but at the same time, I maybe just watch the first one again. If you like the fun, funky, and horror moments and the gore, I know the gore isn't huge in the first one, but it's a lot more than this one. This one, it's more sounds than anything visual, if you know what I mean. Overall, I was really not digging it at the start. It kind of won me over slightly, but I really felt indifferent to most of it. And it's so sad because, again, I like the cast. I love the characters they've built around their little world. And I just wanted to see more M3GAN doing M3GAN things. And in a 2-hour runtime, you would hope that that would be the first checkbox they have to tick off, and I don't think that they fully ticked that. I'm gonna give this one a 6 out of 10 for my personal. For originality, I'm gonna give it like a 2 out of 10, and I'm not gonna give it a scare score or a gore score. You know what? I'll give it a 1. I'll give it a 1. If you like M3GAN and you want to see where the story goes, it is worth watching and forming your own opinion. But if you're not so much into action drama and you like more horror-based stuff, maybe wait until it's streaming. You can make your educated guess on your budget and time. I hope you guys found this video helpful. Thank you so much for coming with me to go see M3GAN 2.0. If you did see 28 years later and you were unsure about the ending, I did a whole video breaking down the ending and what it means. You may have missed a couple of hidden symbols. You may not have. Check out the comment section as well. Very good comment section. And if you're thinking about seeing Dangerous Animals, which is another horror movie that is at the cinemas currently, here is a spoiler-free video to know whether that is worth your time. As horror fans, we all like different things, and my reviews aim to let you know what I thought, but also whether it will suit your personal taste. Stay safe and stay spooky. Bye, friends.